Let me tell you something, pain, yeah, it hurts. It's real. It'll wake you up in the middle of the night. It'll make you want to quit. It'll whisper in your ear how this ain't worth it. But I'm here to tell you today, pain is temporary. But legacy is forever. Pain is a part of life. It comes in many forms, physical, emotional, mental, and it doesn't discriminate. Everyone at some point will feel it. And when it hits, it can feel overwhelming. Like a storm you didn't see coming. Like a weight pressing down on your chest. Like fire in your muscles, doubt in your mind, or heartbreak in your soul. Pain isn't something you can avoid if you're chasing anything meaningful. In fact, pain is often the sign that you're in the right place, that you're stretching, growing, and pushing beyond the limits you once believed were fixed. But here's the truth. Pain, no matter how sharp, no matter how deep, is temporary. It has an expiration date. It's not built to last. It's a visitor, not a resident. It might knock you down, but it doesn't have to keep you there. It might scream at you to quit, but it doesn't have the final say. What gives pain power is your response. If you allow it to define you, it will. If you allow it to shape your actions, it will. If you see it for what it is, a short season, a tough moment, a test of character, then it becomes just that, temporary. Most people try to run from pain. They try to numb it, avoid it, distract themselves from it. But running never works because pain always finds a way back when it's ignored. The only way out is through. You have to face it, embrace it, and push beyond it. And when you do, you realize something powerful. Pain is a teacher. It teaches discipline. It teaches patience. It teaches strength. There are lessons in pain that comfort will never teach you. There are breakthroughs that only happen on the other side of suffering. Think about athletes training for greatness. Every sprint that burns their lungs, every rep that shakes their arms, every drop of sweat, they all hurt. But that pain, that's the body leveling up. That's endurance being built. That's strength being carved out. And none of it lasts forever. The soreness fades. The discomfort fades. But the results, the muscle, the speed, the endurance, that stays. It's the same in every area of life. Whether you're building a business, healing from loss, chasing a dream, or fighting personal battles, the pain is part of the process, but it's not the end. Too often we confuse temporary pain with permanent failure. We feel pain and assume something's wrong. We feel discomfort and think we should stop. But pain doesn't mean you're failing. Pain means you're moving. It means you're alive and engaged in the process of change. Growth is painful. Evolution is painful. Becoming someone new is painful. But staying the same is far worse. Stagnation might feel safe, but it kills your spirit slowly. And once you recognize that pain is simply part of the cause for becoming your best, you stop fearing it. The key is perspective. When you see pain as something with a limit, something that will pass, you take its power away. You stop being afraid of it. You stop letting it dictate your pace. You start pushing through it instead of being paralyzed by it. And with every step you take in pain, you become stronger. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You become someone who doesn't just survive pressure. You grow under it. You become someone who doesn't avoid challenges. You rise to them. And when the pain finally passes, when the clouds lift and the weight lifts, you'll look back and realize something incredible. You didn't just endure, you transformed. Pain is not a destination. It's a part of the road. A difficult, necessary stretch of the journey toward everything you've ever wanted. And every time you face it head on, you become more of who you were meant to be. Legacy is what remains when you're gone. It's the footprint you leave behind, the impact you make, the stories people tell about you when you're no longer in the room. It's not about fame or fortune. It's about significance. It's about me. And here's the truth. Your effort, your grind, your sacrifice may feel invisible right now, but the legacy you're building through that effort will outlast it all. Every drop of sweat, every early morning, every late night, every time you push through when quitting felt easier, that doesn't disappear. It builds something. It shapes your legacy. Most people want results now. They want rewards immediately. But true legacy isn't built in a moment. It's not built in flashes of glory. It's built in the mundane. It's built in the decisions no one sees. It's built in consistency and discipline, in doing what needs to be done long after the move to do it has passed. There's a reason legacy lasts forever, because it's not made of surface level actions. It's made of heart. It's made of depth. And while effort is temporary, legacy is the echo of that effort repeated in the lives you touch, the people you influence, and the example you leave behind. People may forget your exact words. They may not remember every move you made, but they will never forget how your presence made them feel. They'll remember the standard you set, the character you lived by, and the courage you showed when things got hard. That's why the daily grind matters. That's why pushing through the pain matters, because every single action is a brick in the foundation of your legacy. When you choose integrity over convenience, when you stay loyal in a world of shortcuts, when you put in the work without applause, you're building something eternal. You're becoming the type of person whose name carries weight, not because of what you owned or achieved, but because of how you showed up for life. Think about the people who have inspired you, the ones whose stories light a fire inside you. Most of them didn't have perfect lives. They faced adversity. They had moments of doubt, failure, struggle, but they kept going. They chose purpose over pain. They chose impact over ease. And that choice, repeated over time, is what created their legacy. They weren't remembered for how they felt during the fight. They were remembered for how they fought regardless of how they felt. Effort is fleeting. The world moves fast. Trends come and go. Accomplishments fade into memory. But the person you become through effort, the example you set, that lingers. It moves from your hands to someone else's heart. It gets passed down. It becomes a ripple in a much bigger ocean. That's legacy. And it's built every time you do the hard thing, every time you stay committed, every time you act in alignment with your values instead of your emotions. Legacy isn't loud in the beginning. It whispers. It's in the decision to get up when you don't want to. It's in the choice to speak truth when silence would be easier. It's in the way you treat people who can do nothing for you. And over time, those quiet choices build something louder than any spotlight could ever provide. They create a reputation, a standard way of being that inspires others to rise higher, to aim bigger, to live better. You don't get to choose whether or not you leave a legacy. You're leaving one every day. The only question is, what kind? Are you building one that speaks of perseverance, of strength, of resilience? Or are you letting the pain stop you, letting the discomfort define you, letting the moment pass without leaving your mark? Every action is a message to the future. Every sacrifice is an investment in eternity. Every bit of effort, though it may pass, writes a story that does not. And that's what makes legacy so powerful. It takes the temporary and makes it permanent. It takes your grind today and turns it into someone else's inspiration tomorrow. The sweat dries, the fatigue fades, the applause stops. Legacy stays. Legacy grows. Legacy echoes through generations. Greatness never comes without sacrifice. It's a universal truth that applies to every dream, every life worth remembering. You don't stumble into greatness by accident. You don't wake up one morning and find it waiting on your doorstep. Greatness is earned, not given. It's the reward for choosing the hard path when the easy one is calling your name. It's what happens when you decide that what you want in the long run is worth more than what feels good right now. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has paid a price. They've given up comfort. They've sacrificed time, energy, sleep, relationships, and sometimes even their peace of mind. They've made decisions that most people wouldn't dare make, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. When others were partying, they were working. When others were sleeping, they were grinding. When others were talking about dreams, they were out there chasing them inch by inch, day by day, because they knew one thing: greatness demands sacrifice. Sacrifice is the dividing line between ordinary and extraordinary. Everybody wants to be great until they realize what it actually costs. They want the glory, but not the grind. They want the results, but not the discipline. They want the recognition, but not the routine. But life doesn't work that way. You can't have greatness without giving something up. Something has to die for something greater to be born. Sometimes that means letting go of old habits, old mindsets, or even old versions of yourself. The pain of sacrifice is real. It hurts to say no when everyone else is saying yes. It's hard to keep going when you're exhausted and no one is clapping for you. It's lonely at times, but it's also necessary, because in every sacrifice, there's a seed being planted, a seed of resilience, of strength, of future success. And over time, if you keep watering it with consistency and commitment, it grows into something that not only changes your life, but inspires others to change theirs. The people we remember, the ones whose names live on, they weren't the ones who did just enough to get by. They were the ones who did what others weren't willing to do. They were the ones who suffered, who sacrificed, who stayed focused when distractions were everywhere. They weren't perfect, but they were relentless. They weren't always the most talented, but they were always the most committed. How? Because they understood that greatness isn't about luck. It's about choices. And those choices aren't always glamorous. Sometimes it means waking up at 4 a.m. to train. Sometimes it means staying late to study or work when your body is begging for rest. Sometimes it means missing out on moments that seem fun now, so you can build a future that's meaningful later. That's the trade. That's the cost. And if you're not willing to pay that price, greatness will always stay out of reach. But if you're willing to lean into the pain, to embrace the grind, to give up short-term pleasure for long-term purpose, then there's nothing you can't achieve, because sacrifice doesn't weaken you, it shapes you. It chisels away everything that's holding you back and reveals a strength you didn't even know was there. It builds character, it builds toughness, and it builds the kind of legacy that doesn't fade. The world isn't changed by people who do what's easy. It's changed by people who are willing to bleed for what they believe in, who are willing to go through hell and come out on the other side stronger. Greatness is a battle, and sacrifice is the weapon. Every time you choose to give something up in pursuit of your goal, you're one step closer. Every time you silence the voice that says quit, you prove that greatness isn't reserved for the chosen few. It's reserved for the committed, for the disciplined, for the ones who understand that the dream is free, but the journey will cost you everything. Quitting might feel like relief in the moment, but it comes at the cost of everything you could have become. The truth is, every time you quit, you're not just walking away from a goal, you're shutting the door on potential, on the version of yourself that only shows up when things get hard and you choose to keep going anyway. Quitting kills momentum. It kills belief. It tells your mind that giving up is an option when things get uncomfortable. And the more you do it, the more you train yourself to take the easy way out. Oh, no one ever became great by quitting when things got hard. No one built something meaningful by backing down every time the pressure rose. Growth lives in resistance. Strength is forged in struggle, and quitting cuts you off from both. You never know how close you are to a breakthrough when you quit. It could be one more rep, one more phone call, one more day, one more late night of grinding that finally tips the scale. But if you stop, you'll never see it. You'll never feel what it's like to stand on the other side of adversity and know you earned every inch of it. When you quit, you don't just lose the opportunity, you lose a piece of your identity. Every time you walk away from something you once said mattered, you chip away at your own confidence. You create a pattern, a loop, a story that says, I can't do this, even if that's not true. That story becomes louder with every unfinished project, every abandoned goal, every excuse dressed up as a reason. Before long, it's not just something you did, it's who you think you are. That's the real cost of quitting. Rewrite your identity in small, quiet ways until it robs you of your belief in yourself. But when you keep going, especially when it's hard, you build something different. You build resilience, you build character, you build proof. Every time you push through discomfort, you're sending a message to your mind. We don't fold, we finish. And that mindset, it compounds, it spreads into every area of your life. It becomes the reason you succeed where others fail, the reason people come to rely on you, the reason your goals stop being wishes and start becoming reality. The pain of discipline is sharp, but the pain of regret cuts even deeper. It lingers, it haunts, it whispers what could have been if only you had held on a little longer. Regret doesn't go away, it follows you. It shows up in conversation, in quiet moments, in the back of your mind. And no amount of comfort can silence the voice that says, you quit too soon. But the pain you feel from pushing through, from enduring, from staying locked in, that pain transforms you. It refines you, and it always leads somewhere. People often think they lack motivation, but what they really lack is endurance. They think they need to feel inspired to keep going, when what they really need is the discipline to push through when the inspiration fades. Because it will fade. It always does. That's when the real work begins. That's when most people quit. And that's when you have to decide, am I chasing a feeling or am I chasing a future? Because if it's the future you want, you can't afford to quit. Not now, not ever. Every great story has a moment where the hero almost gives up. That's what makes the victory worth it. The moment of doubt, the moment of doubt, the moment of pain, the moment where everything in you says, this isn't working. That's where greatness is born. Not in the beginning when everything is exciting. Not at the end when the rewards come in. But in the middle when it's quiet, when it's hard, when it's lonely. That's where you become who you were meant to be. Quitting feels good now, but it robs you later. It trades long-term pride for short-term comfort, and comfort is a liar. It tells you to settle, to wait, to take the easy road. But nothing worth having was ever found in comfort zones. The people who change their lives, who build legacy, who leave an impact, they aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who didn't quit in the struggle, who stared failure in the face and kept moving forward, who understood that pain is part of the process, but quitting is a permanent decision in a temporary situation. There's a fire that lives inside every person who refuses to settle, a hunger that won't be quieted by comfort, by praise, or by small wins. That fire is called purpose. And once you lock into it, once you truly understand why you're doing what you're doing, there's no pain, no setback, no failure strong enough to stop you. Purpose becomes the engine. It drives you when you're tired. It pulls you forward when your body wants to shut down. It becomes louder than your excuses and stronger than your doubts. People without purpose chase motivation. They wait to feel good, wait to be inspired, wait for someone else to push them. But those with purpose, they don't wait, they move, they act, they grind even when the energy's gone and the applause is silent. Purpose gives you vision. It lets you see beyond the present pain and tap into the future gain. It's what allows a person to stand in the middle of chaos and still move with clarity. It's what makes someone dangerous to mediocrity. When you know your why, you don't fold when things get tough. You dig deeper, you lean into the struggle. Because you understand that every challenge, every obstacle, every delay, it's not there to stop you. It's there to prepare you, to strengthen you, to make sure that when the opportunity finally shows up, you're ready for it. Purpose teaches you patience. It teaches you discipline. It teaches you that real progress is not measured in how fast you move, but in how long you're willing to keep moving forward, no matter what. Pain without purpose leads to suffering, but pain with purpose, that's transformation. That's the difference between breaking down and leveling up. When you're locked into your purpose, pain becomes part of the process. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this building in me? That shift changes everything. It turns pain into fuel. It makes discomfort a signal, not a warning. It means you're growing. It means you're on the right track. The people who go the distance, the ones who build legacies, they didn't do it because they had more talent. They did it because they had a stronger why. They had something in them that couldn't be bought, something that couldn't be shaken by rejection, failure, or fatigue. Their purpose was personal. It was tied to their identity. It was connected to something bigger than just winning or being seen. That's why they outlasted the competition. That's why they stayed standing long after others gave up. Purpose also creates alignment. When you know your purpose, you stop wasting energy on things that don't serve you. You stop chasing trends. You stop comparing yourself to people who aren't even running your race. You get focused. You get intentional. Every move you make has meaning. Every step has weight. You start living with direction instead of drifting through your days. And that kind of focus, it's rare. It's powerful. It's what separates people who talk about change from the ones who create it. Your purpose doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be flashy, but it has to be real. It has to come from your core, from the truth about who you are and what you want to become. It can be as simple as being the first in your family to break a cycle, as strong as proving to yourself that you're more than your past, as bold as deciding that your life will mean something. When that purpose takes root, nothing can shake you, not failure, not critics, not fear. You won't always feel inspired. You won't always feel strong. But when your purpose is solid, you'll keep showing up. You'll keep fighting. You'll keep building. You'll keep building, because quitting doesn't make sense when you know why you started. Pain doesn't scare you when you know what it's shaping. Every time you struggle, every time you feel like giving up, that purpose will remind you, this isn't the end. This is part of the path. This is what it takes to become who you were meant to be. You are writing history with every decision you make. Whether you see it or not, whether you feel it or not, each choice is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. Every action you take, every time you show up, every moment you choose discipline over distraction, you are shaping a story that will outlast the moment. And that story becomes your legacy. Or it becomes the blueprint that others will look at to understand what you stood for, what you value, and what you were willing to fight for. People often think legacy is something you build at the end of your life, something reserved for people with titles, fame, or fortune. But that's not the truth. Fortune, but that's not the truth. To drink your bigger minute. Legacy starts right now. It begins the moment you decide that who you are matters, that your decisions matter, that your daily habits matter. You don't wake up one day and discover you build a legacy. You build it in the unseen hours, in the sacrifices no one applauds, in the consistency no one records, in the private moments where you choose character over comfort. Every decision adds up. The way you treat people when there's nothing in it for you, the way you carry yourself when no one's watching, the way you respond when life knocks you down and dares you to stay there. These aren't random events. They're pieces of a puzzle that becomes your identity. And over time, that identity becomes your impact. You can't fake a legacy. It's not built with empty words or surface level effort. It's built in truth, in grit, in the refusal to quit when things get hard. Legacy doesn't wait until you feel ready. It begins the moment you take responsibility for your life. The moment you stop blaming circumstances. The moment you stop looking around and start looking within. Because greatness isn't about being lucky. It's about being intentional. It's about deciding that everything you do matters, even the little things, especially the little things. Because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And if you want to be remembered for something real, you've got to live like it every single day. Your name has weight. Your actions give it value. And every time you show up with purpose, you increase that value. It's that value. You might not see the results right away. You might feel invisible at times, like no one notices your effort. But trust this, the seed you plant today will become the shade someone else sits under tomorrow. Legacy isn't loud at first. It's quiet, it's humble. But over time, it grows into something bigger than you ever imagined. Think about the people who changed your life, the ones whose example made you better. It wasn't just what they said, it was how they lived. Their decisions, their sacrifice, their strength, it spoke louder than any speech. They didn't wait for recognition. They didn't do it for applause. They just lived with intention. And in doing so, they left behind a blueprint that others could follow. That's what you're doing, whether you realize it or not. You're setting a standard. You're building a reputation. You're telling the world that this is who I am. And the powerful thing is, you get to choose what that message is. You get to choose if your legacy will be one of strength or excuses, resilience or regret. You get to decide what people will remember when they say your name. Will they think of someone who kept going no matter what? Someone who lifted others even while climbing their own mountain? Someone who stood for something? Or will they see someone who played it safe, who let fear make the decisions, who gave up when it got tough? You don't need a stage to leave a legacy. You just need a life lived with integrity. Because people are watching. Your family, your friends, your peers, they're paying attention. They see how you handle pressure. They see what you do when things don't go your way. And that influence, it lasts, it spreads, it inspires. And the greatest legacy you can leave is one that gives others permission to believe in themselves, to work harder, to live bolder, to become more. So when you wake up in the morning and don't feel motivated, remember this. Every decision today is shaping tomorrow's legacy. Every choice is either building it up or tearing it down. You may not control everything, but you control how you respond, how you work, and how you lead yourself.